that note with Parker Whirling.
Check 1 2 for me.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. What's the weirdest check 1 2 you've ever heard in your life? Do you have one?
I'm sure there was one. That's a great question that I should have in my last 5, but I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard. I know I've heard some strange, wonky 1 2s, but I don't know. Do you have one ready to go?
There was the B.O.B. show that we did. The professional guy at the B.O.B. show was like, check 1 2, and it was like he sounded like a cartoon.
Was he aware of what he was doing?
I think it was on purpose, because like I said, this was like, I mean, they were like, the company that was doing it was like, there was like it was like an outdoor venue, several thousand people, and this is like the professional guy they send up there, like part of the production team.
Yeah.
Dude, he wasn't just like a random artist.
Maybe he was hitting all the frequencies.
That's what I assume, like, and I've never seen that since, and I was like, does this guy know?
Maybe he's the only one who knows.
Yeah.
Like, he's the pro that you call when you need to know exactly how it's going to sound in your venue.
Yeah, and like he's the because like the rest of us are just like trying to sound like check 1 2.
Yeah, they're trying to sound cool.
It's like, yeah, he's like, nah, brother, this is not about sounding cool. This is about hitting every note,
every frequency
in one check 1 2. Yeah, up and down the line.
James Lavender on the podcast. This is truly a legendary moment, not only because we've been talking about this for a long time, but because we've been talking about it for a long time in our own living room.
We have, yeah, in
because
these chairs.
We live together, the odd couple.
The odd couple.
I'm so stoked to have you on the pod. I mean, we've been playing each other's music for at least over a year now. Mm-hmm. I've played your songs on drums at some gigs. You've shown me many iterations of these tunes, both recorded and not recorded. And I know you've been so hyped about having Icarus, your first song, out. And now it is out as we are recording this. It came out, yesterday?
Yesterday.
Cool. So this episode's out now. It's been like about a week or a little less than a week, so go stream it. It's called Icarus, James Lavender. We were talking a little before the podcast about how you're feeling now. I know that first release is always a big one, but maybe you can tell the people kind of where your head is at right now.
Yeah, I feel good. Like there's a lot of gratefulness, and I mean that very authentically. Like, I'm very glad that it's out now, and because I think there was a time. It's similar to what I think my friends talk about. It's like it's horrible to be engaged. They're like, it's great having a girlfriend. It's terrible to be engaged, and it's great being married. Just because like that waiting time in between is like maddening sometimes. Mm-hmm. Of just like, I just want to get here. And so yeah, I definitely feel like the last couple of weeks I was just like filled with this anxiousness of trying to make sure I was doing everything that I could be doing to give this launch like a good momentum, a good presence online. And so now that it's out, it's kind of like, well, good, bad, or ugly, here we are. And so there's a lot of peace in that. Also really nervous. I'm checking, we have, where you can see your numbers of how many people are listening right now and how many listens it has. And I'm checking it like every 45 seconds. And that's
very dangerous.
It's not good. It's a bad thing to do. Sometimes it's good. Like I said, it's been positive because I have not checked it and it not gone up since it came out.
Well, it ain't going down.
Yeah, not going down. It's only up from here. And I think it is a bit of a different experience for me from some other people because I've been in music for so long. And I just had not crossed this threshold. And so like even last year I played, I mean, because you played most of them with me, like like 6 live shows, like in venues like Smith's Old Bar and stuff like that in Atlanta that people bought tickets to come and see. And then after the show, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I love your music. Where can I listen to it? And I was like, well, right here, right now, wherever I am. Because
right
I just
here, right now.
just because I don't know, I was afraid, and so I just hadn't put it out, and I hadn't done it, and so yeah, no, it's really exciting to be here now. I feel like a real artist, kind of sometimes.
Yeah, welcome to the club, the Real Artists Club.
Thank you.
I mean, dude, you're a real artist before, and you will be as long as you continue to make art that you love. But there is something special about releasing that first project and it being a thing that you can actually tell people, oh, they can go listen whenever they choose, as opposed to just having to come see you live, or at least they can get to know the songs before they see you live. What were some of the things that got you to finally release your songs? I know you've been playing music for a long time, and this was a barrier of yours. So there are a lot of people that I'm sure have listened to this who have maybe just taken that first step or are still looking to make that first step. What kind of advice would you give them, / what kind of advice would you give yourself a few years ago in terms of releasing your first song or first project?
Yeah, that's a fun one because like I try not to live regretting, because if I could go back, I would have done this differently. I would have released a song earlier because I think my career today would be further had I taken that step then. But I'm not regretting that because here we are, and with Icarus out, I love it and it sounds amazing. So I'm grateful for where I am today and in the road that I got here. But if I was telling another artist, the thing that I would say would be, do it, because you're never going to be ready. And I'm a perfectionist, as most artists, well, I don't want to say most, but a lot of artists that I know are perfectionists. And so, you're never going to be ready. It's never going to be absolutely perfect. But, the thing about creating art and content or whatever it is like, I think sometimes you just have to make it, do the best that you can today. And that was the thing that I think I had to come to, because I have a great vocal coach and I'm becoming a better singer, and I'm a good guitar player. I'm becoming a better guitar player. And so I kept pushing it off, being like, well, if I practice for 3 more months, I'm going to be able to sing this better, and I'm going to be able to play this better, and I'm going to be able to do all those things. But to other artists, do the best that you can do today and share it with the world. And yeah, that was the thing that I had to, clip it. That's your note. As far as what got me to the point to where I was ready to do it, it was the people. I mean, it really is. It's this community that I have really, I would say, stumbled and fallen into in Atlanta, because where I was before with music, I've been writing and performing for years, and I've had a lot of fun with it. But something about coming to Atlanta, coming to certain open mics, and these people that I've connected with, that when I talked about music and how I wanted to pursue this thing at a professional level, they looked at me and they were like, yeah, me too. And there was this like validation to that, to where it's like, I don't know, everything that had been kind of a dream kind of got focused into more of a goal, because I met people who were doing it and were doing it well. And then like the mind-blowing part of it was when these artists that I just respect so much and I love so much and think the world of, would hear my music and would see me perform and would support that. It really was a big game changer for me. And so 2 artists specifically that had a big part in it. One was Chris Hart, who is a London-based artist, has some great music out that everyone should listen to. And he was one just early on that he pulled me. That was my first like full band live show, was at Waller's Coffee House. Waller's. Yeah. Here in Decatur. And I opened for him. I was one of the artists that opened for him. And, just all of that kind of stuff, that him and his wife, Katie, believed in what I was doing, really enjoyed the sound, and not only enjoyed it, but like aligned themselves with me. Huge step in that. I was writing more music, and then another night at Bateco, Southern Feed Store here in Atlanta, I was performing at an open mic, and I had played a song that I had really mixed feelings about, because it was a little raw. It was very authentic, and I played it, and I came off the stage, and a dear friend of both of ours, Aaron Rizzo, came up to me, and he just like put his hands on me, and my heart fluttered. But he put his hands on my shoulders, and he's like, that's the song. You need to record this music. And I remember immediately, because I had been wanting to ask him but had been nervous to, and I was like, I will record these songs if you produce them. And he was like, done. And
just like that.
Just like that.
What song was it?
That was Horizon, which will be coming out in a few months.
You heard it here first, folks.
So it was Horizon, and that was like, and then after Horizon, it's kind of funny the way these next, because I have a song coming out every couple of months for pretty much the rest of the year.
Nice.
And Icarus was just the one that I felt was most authentic to who I am today, and the most central to like the sound of all of them. And so yeah, but that's really what brought me from like always wanting to do this to actually doing it was just I got out into the world. I played my music. I found like-minded people who were further down this road than I was, who validated my feelings and my dreams, and also at the same time kind of gave me a vision for how much better I needed to become, because I have gotten a lot better, and my songs, like I said, have gotten better. Even Icarus, I remember I was listening to the original version of Icarus on like a voice memo the other day, and it's really funny, and I may put it out on like Instagram or something at some point just to kind of show how far it came from a voice memo. But I even remember like all the little moments, like when I was living in that really musty house up in Sandy Springs, and you came over one night.
Yeah.
And we were just in this little I was living with like 12 people. The house may or may
wild.
The house may or may not have been owned by the Russian mob.
We don't know.
I was kind of told it was, but no, it was an interesting time. That's what happens when your best friends leave the country, and you're just
Chris
like,
and
Chris
Katie.
And best friends and roommates, and you just don't know what to do with yourself. You move in with the Russian mob. But it was in that dank little room, and I was like, hey, Icarus is a good song, but I don't know if it's like great. And I played it for you, and I remember exactly the advice you gave me. You were like, okay, I think you're singing the I'll be like Icarus. I think I sang it like 4 times or something like that after the chorus.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
yeah, I remember this.
Exactly. And you were like, I think that's too many times. Or I think I even sang I'll be like Icarus who's not afraid to fly. Like it was like the whole line, and I sang it like 4 times.
That's what it was. It was the full not afraid to fly. You said that one each time, and I was like, what if you just did it like every other time?
Yeah, what if
or
you
something
just,
like that?
Well, you're like, what if you just sang I'll be like Icarus?
Right.
That's what is on the final track now. And it was just a very casual guitar cajon.
My small contribution.
Well, you were like, and you could put something else like in between them as you're waiting there.
Yeah.
And then in the studio is where we were in there, and I was like, oh, there's this space in the song now, talking to Aaron Rizzo, the producer, and I was like, I think it'd sound really good if there was a counter melody here, something to go in between that line. And so that's where he goes to the I'll be like Icarus. It's like meow 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 meow. And that was all Aaron in the studio.
Yeah.
And so like those small little things, like I said, from this community that I have, really took this piece of art that I had made and created and elevated it to a completely different level. In the same way, my vocal coach has been a big part of this. Her name is Samantha Bailey King. And the little things she did just in our coaching sessions, because she's really great about, drilling the fundamentals into me. I said that right?
Yeah.
Drilling the fundamentals into me, but also like letting me show her my music. And she's just like giving it just the small things. Because I have some bad habits. Like I would be singing, it's called a diphthong, where you hit the second vowel sound. And so I was singing sky.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, what if you just sang sky and mixed it up, and not just stuck to one thing? And so like, so there's all these, if I reflect on it, all these like teeny tiny little moments where me just dreaming about something, but the right people at this really fun time in my life came alongside me. And that's how Icarus was able to actually gain life and to live out there.
So with Aaron Rizzo, friend of the pod, he's been on this podcast, and so is Chris, by the way. You all should check out those pods. But Rizzo is such a talented producer. I've had a good handful of people on this podcast, like NJ, you, who have worked with him as a producer. And I'm just curious, as an artist working with him, what do you feel like are some traits that a producer needs to have for you to want to work with them? Like, what about Aaron you think really works as a producer?
Absolutely. Well, because Aaron's not the first person that has ever wanted to produce my music. In years past when I worked with other teams and bands and stuff like that, some other people, and we just didn't work. We just didn't have the right chemistry or aligned vision. And so that's a big reason why, in just eras past, the songs never really got traction. Because there was, if something like that had gone different, maybe I would have produced one of these songs before. But it was never right. And so the thing about Aaron that I think is just absolutely brilliant is because, and I encourage you to do this, if you go and listen to all the different artists that he produced, like if you listen to NJ's most recent album, like it's brilliant and it is so NJ. And her sound is very different from mine, because her sound and her voice and all these things, they're just brilliant. They're incredible. We also share the same vocal coach too, which is kind of the funny thing. Yeah. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So NJ and I kind of have, there's this like package deal that we have found. But Rizzo has taught me so much. And so the things about him as a producer that I value deeply is that he both loves the music itself, like he loves my songs, but he's also like, because I don't think love is just accepting something and doing it is, but he like loves the songs, and he's like, okay, but like what if we trash half of this song? And he asked me, now I will say this to anybody, he asked me coming into it with like the first song, he goes, okay, like now this song that you've created, like is this like your darling? And are we just taking this and like bringing it up? Because there's other artists that do come in and work with him, and they will knock out songs quickly because they know exactly how they want it. And they're like, this is my guitar. This is what I want here. Here's my vocals. And he like meets that artist wherever they are and gives them what they want, and does everything that he does to make it sound beautiful and brilliant. But for me, like what I needed from a producer, and the reason why like Rizzo is like the perfect person, is because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand. I'm a great live performer. Like I know how to put a band together, and I know how to make that band sound really good live. But production and studio is just this whole other universe of how to do art and how to bring your art in this way. And so Aaron was just really great, like I would say collaborator, in the fact where we just would sit in there, and he even like taught me how to think about my music, to where like in between sessions, after seeing what he was doing and what he was thinking, and I would go home and I would just like listen to more music, and I would listen to it differently, and then I would make all these notes, and then I would come back in and I would be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. And like I said, he plays so many instruments, he plays them all so well, and he's just been so patient with me. So like the characteristics in a producer is like, he is like, I guess what you would call like a complimentary producer, in the fact that from what I've seen and witnessed between me and other people, is he's really good at meeting you wherever you are and filling the need that you have and what you want. So like I said, for me, I always want Aaron to do everything that he wants to do on my tracks.
Yeah.
And if it ever gets to a point where it's like, I don't like the way that sounds, I'll tell him. Be like, I don't really like the way that sounds, or I think I want this better. And that took me a second to get to, because I was just like, honestly, whatever you think is going to be better than what I think. And so it took me a second to even learn how to advocate for myself a little bit, just because I was just in such awe and respect.
Right.
But no, it's like, I'm very excited for the time I get to spend in the studio with Aaron, because I trust him, which I think is a big thing you need with a producer, is like, because your songs are important to you. Especially a song for me like Icarus, which is like so vulnerable and it's so real. It's like, because you've heard poorly produced music, and it happens. And for something that literally is like pages out of my diary, to have somebody that you can trust with it, that cares about the song as much as you do, but also has all of this technical proficiency to help make it sound like something in your head. And like I said, beyond what I have imagined, like I said, to have his skill, to have his imagination, to have his heart in this process with me. And I feel safe in that room with him. I feel safe to let him go crazy and have fun with it. And I feel safe enough to be able to vocalize my own concerns and thoughts, and to ask really stupid questions, because I've asked a lot of really stupid. But I'm not afraid to. I'm not afraid to admit, you know what, I have no idea what you're talking about right now when you use this thing or that thing or whatever. And also he speaks guitarist, and when I say that, I mean like I'd be like, hey, what if this thing had like a wow, or like a and that kind of thing or whatever. The onomatopoeias, and when you're like just a scotia of and he's like just a scotia of reverb, just a little this or that. Right. And I don't know, like I said, I'm in awe, and I will work with Aaron Rizzo as long as he will keep me around until he goes off and becomes a superstar and his time becomes more valuable than I can.
And it will.
It will absolutely happen. That's why I'm gonna
rising star, just brilliant guy. I like what you said about meeting artists in the middle. I have to give a shout out to Tommy Troutwine in Athens. He helped me produce, or he did produce, a lot of my songs, or all the songs on my Bad Trip EP. Mm-hmm. And same thing, like couldn't have said it better myself. Meeting me in the middle, knowing when a song that I had to bring was, maybe 90% done, where there wasn't much to touch, or it was 30% done and like the core was there, and then you kind of work around it. And it feels like that is, at the end of the day, what makes a great producer, along with being a good hang. I think that's such a huge part of it. Like if you're uncomfortable in the studio simply because the vibes are not great, like nothing else is that's going to color everything, I guess. Yeah. That the bad vibes will be transferred into the music, and you won't feel great about it.
If you're not having fun, I definitely think that comes through in everything you do, which is so funny, because that's like, fun is like a hard thing to quantify, but it's like even playing in a band, like if you're playing in a band with people and you're not having fun, it's going to find like I feel like people are going to feel that, and they're going to experience that. So yeah, getting to work with people. And I do love a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the little guitar bits and stuff like that Tommy has added to your music. Because I've also seen you like come home, you're like, okay, so like I finished the song, but now I've got to learn this guitar part. Because, people like Tommy just casually creating this like.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
Making shit hard for me.
But everything, that guitar part, because that's on My Brain's Blanking. Which track was that? It's your most recent one, right?
It's not out yet.
Never mind. Shh.
It's okay. It's coming out soon because I'm about to submit it after we record this episode.
Hey.
So if you're listening, you get the sneak peek or reveal that Always Up to Something is coming out. I don't know, within the next month or two.
Always Up to Something. I'm glad I didn't just like pre-announce your.
No, that's okay. That was a good segue into
cool.
Making me responsible for posting that a little bit later today.
Good.
But let's go back to live performance. You've been an avid live performer over the years, and I'm just curious, after playing so many shows, so many open mics, I mean, literally for probably 10 years?
20
years.
Yeah.
So just double what I was saying.
If I go back to like beginning, because I was like doing like songwriting competitions at like 13 in Nashville.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's okay. I don't talk about it.
Like college, because I know you opened for B.O.B., which is crazy. So funny.
I did. Mr. Magic. It was before he was a flat earther. I want to put that out there. Yeah, what a great show it would have been.
Yeah, all the questions I would have asked.
Yeah, because that was, the B.O.B. Greater Than Never was the name of the band. It was an incredible season. I got to work with some of my best friends in college. My brother, Chase, and my best friend, Javon, are both rappers. And I was just the guy who sang hooks and didn't wear sleeves.
Nice.
And we had some fun songs that we had created. And then we had a great team that like came up with us, some guys that I had played with. Kyle, Sam, Eric, and John. Like literally, because we won this competition to open for B.O.B., and we had a week to put a band together.
Wow.
And so those 4 guys came together and learned a 40-minute set of songs that we had written, never recorded, and literally just in 1 week, we like camped out hard. We got a studio space and just went in there together and kind of had to write these songs because they had never been played with a full band.
Right.
And we did all of that and got to play in front of him. It was several thousand people because it was a concert at UAB. Go Blazers. And we opened for B.O.B. And it was a really crazy, incredible time. And it was a lot of fun. I hope to not necessarily open for B.O.B. Not opposed.
Yeah. Hey, B.O.B., come on the pod. We can talk conspiracies.
I would love to talk conspiracies. That would be a wonderful thing.
That would be fun.
It would. And so, yeah, so that was the B.O.B. show was great. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I'm very grateful.
The question I was getting at, though, because
Yes.
I got a little distracted, of course, once B.O.B. comes up. It's hard not to. But
yeah.
That being said, you've played live a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about stage presence, performance, rehearsals, anything like that goes into playing a good live show?
I think playing a good live show, it like takes 2 steps back. And that's like my preparation, which is something that I was never bad at because I've been leading band practices professionally for a decade. For other things. But it's different when it's original music, and it's different when you're bringing these people in, especially like I said, for me, the craziest thing was,
sorry,
you're
drop
all
my
good.
water bottle.
Because my songs weren't recorded, so there wasn't like this is what this song sounds like with a full band. So I had songs, but like didn't necessarily have a really locked in vision for how the drums were supposed to sound, or the guitars or the basses or anything like that, which definitely is a problem, but it's a hindrance, but it's not something you can't overcome. So I think a really great live performance starts with you making a lot of very intentional decisions about what you want your song to sound like, mapping all of that out, being very specific and as helpful as you can, and then running a really, really good practice is the best way to do a live show well. And that has a number of things that goes into what a good practice is. And I think the 3 things, we're going to talk about Aaron Rizzo again, because he mentioned it it was like be on time, essentially care about what you're doing, and be a good hang. And that was the 3 things that like make a good musician. And so, trying to create a practice space where everyone is respectful of each other's time, so everyone gets there as on time as you can be in Atlanta traffic. Everyone shows up and they know the music, and you are a good hang and you enjoy being together. Because if you can take that space and you guys are having fun just jamming through the set, and you're locking that in and you're practicing, not to the point where you get it right, but I like to practice until you can't get it wrong. Mm-hmm. And then once you have that, you're having so much fun and you're enjoying it. Then when you take it to a stage, you're just doing, like, as long as you practice how you're going to perform, it becomes so much easier. And stage presence and live performance is good there. And you're not, because I'm the kind of person that I will worry if it's not quiet. I'm like, oh, I really hope that the guitarist remembers when to come in, or when this person remembers when to do that. Which was one of the beautiful things, like when you started playing drums for me, and like we just had it so locked in that I wasn't really, like, I was a lot calmer. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the bigger stuff we created, I was excited about when the big hits and stuff were coming. And I'm really excited for the band that we have together for the shows, hopefully this fall, if all works out. You and the 2 other guys that I have put together.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about doing those shows because everybody on the team is better than I am, which is the way you should build a band. You should surround yourself with people who are far more talented than you are, that just help you grow and reach the next level. And so like that, to me, it's like building the right band of talented people, running a really good, clean practice, showing up and knowing what you're going to do and knowing what you want. And then the third thing for me is not every artist is this way, and I respect the artists who aren't this way. Some artists, because I think you're a little more this way, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you really have a very fixed way of how you want everyone to play your songs. And I think that's a brilliant thing. I think there's a brilliance to that. I'm not as rigid with that. Like if I have a different musician coming in playing with this and stuff like that, I really enjoy the energy of being like, hey, this is the energy that I need you to create. And there's a few spots where we need you to like hit, especially like lock in with the bass and, you know, keep this synergy going. But I really enjoy when I have other artists come in. I'm like, hey, how would you play this part if you could? And they would be like, oh, well, I have this really cool drum, or like hopefully Rizzo will be playing electric guitar in the fall and stuff like that. And I'll let him do whatever in the world he wants to do. And same if you're playing bass with me and stuff like that. I enjoy having those artists put their own spin and flair, and that's what practices are good for.
It really comes down to foundational stuff. There's no big secret.
No.
Practice a lot and get the people around you to be people you are confident in, and that takes away so much of the stress. And yeah, that is funny you bring up, you know, our differences there. I feel like when it comes to the way I want whoever's playing with me to play live is, and maybe it comes from, part of it comes from just wanting it to sound pretty close to the recording, and then part of it also comes from having been a musician for other people's bands, and kind of getting that note of, or me asking like, oh, like what do you want me to do specifically, especially if the song is not like, if there's not a recorded version for me to listen to and go use as a reference. If they're just like, oh, you know, whatever you're feeling, it kind of leaves me feeling like, all right, well, I guess I'll make something up, but I don't really know, like, you know the song better than I do, so I want to feel like I'm doing what you want me to do, and if I'm just guessing at it, that can be a little weird. So being on the other side of it, I'm like, I just want to tell you what I want you to do. And also that creates some consistency for me, especially being so like, I'm more of a rhythmic minded person. Like when it comes to lead guitar stuff, and Aaron will attest to this, I don't make him do a lot of specific things. I kind of do if the song is there and like those lead lines are already there. But if anybody, he gets the most free reign. Any lead guitar in my songs get the most free reign live, because I don't have a brain for that. Like I don't, like if it sounds cool to me, it sounds cool and we'll go with it. But as far as like drums and bass, Will and MUL will be the first to tell you, I'm probably like on their ass about certain, like, no, the kick's got to be a little earlier, or like the bass has to hit with the kick. Like I'll be more specific about it with them than I will lead guitar. But that's just, you know, everybody has their own way of doing it. And
mine might evolve as this. Icarus is very possibly the beginning of an album that's going to be waterfalling out. And so as those songs come out and when I'm doing shows post-album, that may change. You know, the way we do, or the way I do practices is always evolving, because, and I think that's just one more just like 30-second snippet to say is like, the way you do practices and the way that I perform live, I'm always looking to evolve. That's why I like having recordings of my shows, and as painful as it could be to go back and to watch it and to kind of like
watching the game tape.
I'm trying to get a friend of mine, which she's already agreed to it, so it's a good thing. She's a brilliant actress and acting coach. Her name's Kate Bone. And I asked her, shout out to Kate Bone. I actually asked her the other day, because we went and saw a play together at this place where she acting coaches. And I was like, hey, would you be willing to let me kind of just like come and perform my songs, like guitar, boom stand, microphone and everything, and you kind of give me some feedback on how I'm using my body language, or where could I be doing more? Because I have seen some really great artists use the space in their mic well. Like I said, I think you use your body very well when you're like, because you're like dancing and you're moving. Well, sometimes I feel like I'm so stoic, like I'm like just like locked in. I was even when I was over in London singing, there was a band, and the lead vocalist, he wasn't playing an instrument at the time, but like just the way he did little things, like he would take the chord and he would flip it over and he would put his foot up on the monitor and like lean out to the crowd, and like I felt that, like what he was doing, and everything there. I believe it was Scarlet Sometimes is the name of that band. And I just ended up playing a show with them. I'd never met them before. But the way he used the stage was just, it was beautiful and it was very charismatic. And so just realizing that, you know, kind of like in line with what I said earlier, do your best that you can do today, but always be looking for how you can improve and be more intentional with your practices and your live performances, because, you know, we're all on that path to just becoming as good as we can be. And it gives you the places to be comfortable, to be authentic. Like, you're not trying to necessarily craft something that isn't you, but sometimes if you don't give yourself enough practice or intentionality, you don't even get to be the most version or the best version of yourself you can be, because you're just so nervous about getting the little things right that you don't get to have more fun with it.
100%. That was very well said, James.
Thank you.
I think on that note, we're going to take it over to the last 5, where we're just going to go through 5 quick questions.
Okay.
And we'll be done. You know the drill. We got a magic bowl right here. I used to call it the Fast 5, but it didn't really go by very fast. So don't worry about taking, having to lightning around it.
Okay.
But here you go.
So I get to pick?
You pick.
Okay, which ones did I mark? No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
God.
The temptation to just go through the bowl has been
sure.
great.
Every day you probably
It's just
pass
sitting
it.
here, yeah. I have pulled them out before, like when we had guests in our home.
Right, and make them answer.
Yeah, and I'd be like, hey, I have a question for you. And I would pull it, like, and they're like, did you plan this? And I was like, okay. Least favorite song or album from your favorite artist?
Oof.
That's a
It's a tough first
terrible
one.
question.
I know.
Uh,
That's like the one slightly negative question in there. They're usually pretty positive.
well, it's also hard for me. Like, I have a hard time picking a favorite color.
Yeah.
And
This is
so-
even way more specific.
To pick like a favorite artist is really terribly hard. Least favorite song from favorite artist.
It doesn't have to be your number one favorite. It can just be like some bands or artists you really love.
Like,
who have a song you don't really understand.
I'll be like, most recently there's one that has traumatized me.
Oh no.
Is Bruno Mars released a song recently?
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna mention the name of it. If you know, you know.
Fat, Juicy, and Wet.
That's it. Yeah, it's
Is
like
that what it is? That's what it's called. Fat, Juicy, and Wet.
If that's not the title of the song, that's how the song
close.
opens.
Yeah.
That's what he sings at the beginning of the hook. I don't know. I think Bruno Mars is great. And like I said, I'm not trying to tamper anyone down, but and like I said, I just think there's a point where you sing something and like it literally makes you go ugh. Like, it's like that song gave me the ick. It gave me the ick real bad.
Yeah.
And I never finished it and I didn't like it. And I love Bruno Mars. I think he's a brilliant performer. And like, I love talk about a live performer. Like, Bruno Mars live is crazy to see. But yeah, that song, I wasn't about it.
That's so funny. I remember hearing that. I mean, whenever it came out and being like, oh, whoa, I didn't know Bruno Mars was doing anything new. And I listened to, like 10 seconds of it. I was like, is this for real? Like, is this a real song that he put out?
It's not. It's a part of the. Well, yeah. Well, he just released that song with Lady Gaga. Did you hear that one?
No.
You should go back and listen to it in a minute. It's a beautiful song. He did
After?
before he released this song.
Yes, I think I have heard that.
Yeah, and it's a great song. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a wonderful song. Like, Bruno is back. And then the next one, I was like, Bruno is in debt or something right now, and he's like,
so crazy,
just trying to make money.
Bizarre. I'm like, man, you're like what, 40 now? Like,
yeah.
This is weird to be.
Real talk. I've heard like it's like gambling debt. That's the
for real.
Thing. Yeah, for real.
I feel like I have heard that somewhere. I didn't know how true that was, but
yeah.
I mean, dude, Silk Sonic was.
Silk Sonic.
That shit was great.
Dude, Anderson .Paak is like
what a combo.
Yeah, like that's like a dream combination. And so, because Anderson .Paak, I love Anderson .Paak. Like, I like Bruno Mars. I love Anderson .Paak.
Yeah.
And so his Tiny Desk, if you've never seen Anderson .Paak's Tiny Desk,
classic.
do that today.
Classic.
That's your assignment.
All right, let's check question number 2.
Okay, I'm gonna go deeper in this bowl because I know I've
Please
read the top ones. I've never seen that question though. That was
Oh really? There you
yeah,
go. Start
that was
with the
dirty.
fresh one.
Who do people often say you sound like? I get a lot of weird stuff. I do. Someone on Reddit earlier today told me I sounded like a modern Daughtry. Was the thing.
Dude, Daughtry rules.
Yeah, I was like, thank you.
I loved Daughtry back in the day.
As did I.
mean,
And
the singles that I heard on the radio.
yeah, it's like I'm not necessarily a Daughtry head, but like I do know that I've like heard some songs come on like shuffle or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this song, that's like kicking, and it was a Daughtry song. So, but I've never like listened to full albums of his. When I sing really soft back in the day, my best friend was like, he thought that I sounded like John Mayer. I don't necessarily think that if you're a John Mayer lover or hater.
Yeah,
but I'll take it a compliment because he's
Sure.
he's a very talented artist. Lately, what has it been? I don't know. It's been a lot of crazy stuff. Mostly though, I think it all comes back to just like, I think I remind people of a lot of rock from like the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I get the most. Like whatever random rock band you listen to. I've gotten some Goo Goo Dolls. I've gotten some
Love
The
Goo Goo
Fray.
Dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Fray, yeah.
Yeah, How to Save a Life. Me and How to Save
For
a Life
sure.
and Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Like those songs and stuff like that. And I'd be lying if I said they didn't have some weight, I think, in like how my sound has grown, because those were songs that like when I was in high school playing my guitar and stuff like that, I did a lot of Goo Goo Dolls. And I definitely sang How to Save a Life. My younger brother like learned it on the piano and could play it like really.
Sick.
He didn't play piano, but he knew how to play How to Save a Life perfectly on the piano.
That's awesome.
And so whenever we were like in a random room and it's like, oh, there's a piano over there.
Just start playing that.
Let's be menaces to society.
Right.
And he would play it, and I would just sing How to Save a Life at the top of my lungs in the middle of this hotel lobby for all of the people that didn't ask for it.
Dude, that song, I feel like The Fray and Goo Goo Dolls had like an impact on just my songwriting style, and it was just set that way since I was like 7. Like I've never, I've only been wanting to write Goo Goo Dolls songs, like just in the subconscious of my mind. Slide, dude.
Yeah.
I love Goo Goo Dolls
Yeah.
and The Fray. I forgot about The Fray until right now.
I forgot about The Fray until I was trying to, a part of the production process, that if you've never done this and you're writing songs and you've never produced them, something I just wasn't really aware of, and you can tell me if you've had this too, is like they love it when you make a playlist of songs that you feel like the song you've written sounds like, or what surrounds it, which is so funny because like for me, I was always trying to make sure my song didn't sound like other things,
Right.
But it's very helpful in the studio.
Yeah, that's funny because now I'm going the opposite. Now I'm like, should I just not make a playlist instead of make a reference playlist?
Yeah.
But I feel like both have their own merits.
Well, it's really great. The reason a reference playlist has become useful for me, and I have one for every song now, because even as I'm just like listening through random day lists and stuff like that, and I hear a song, I was like, oh, I really kind of like the vibe of this song. It reminds me of a song that I've written. And I just have a playlist for each song, and I'll send it to that playlist and try to put like 5 songs or so on that playlist. And so then whenever I'm going to the studio to work with Aaron, I'm like, hey, I want to work on this song next week. Here's 5 reference songs. And so he will take that time, listen to those 5 songs. And then when I come in, he's like, heard, bet, I know what you're kind of going for with this. And so it gives us a kind of a mutual place to bounce off of. And then secondly, when it goes to the guy who masters my music, Seif, Seif loves to have a reference playlist to listen to as he's mastering my music. And so, so that's just become a practice of mine. And I think it's easier to do when you're writing a song. It was hard to do when I had a song already written, and I was like going back and like looking for songs to put on a reference playlist. So I think build a reference playlist early.
Yeah.
And just have it. Yeah.
Nice. Let's check question number 3.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of this bowl.
Yeah, get to the bottom. Really dig in there.
All right. Best and worst decade of music? We may be in the worst, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, not today. Not now. Best and worst decade of music. Ugh.
Yeah, this one ruffles some feathers. sometimes.
It does. And it's hard not to say that the best decade is not the one that was like your decade.
Like,
for me, like the 2010s.
Right when you turned like 15 or something.
Yeah, well, that'd be like
2010.
2000s. Yeah, 2010 is when I graduated high school. And so
In 2010.
2010 is when I graduated high school. So I've got like a little bit of like the 2005 to 2015 is my high school and college.
Right.
But the thing about it is like the one thing that I don't love about my decade of music, and I heard someone else say this. This is not an original thought, but someone else said it, and it was so true that I was like, is like from 2005 to 2015, we didn't appreciate music the way in decades past had. To where like I feel like decades past did a better job of listening to albums, like full albums, and enjoying them and appreciating them, to where like for us, or for me, I won't speak on behalf of an entire generation yet, but we would latch onto a song, and that one song would be the hyperfixation and the only thing that anybody played for like 4 weeks. And then you never heard that song again. Yeah. And it would disappear. But still, we know if someone goes like, "Shawty's like a melody in my head." And like everybody in the room from those years will finish that line, even though we have not listened to that song since 2012. Yeah. And so I don't know. Like there's definitely a negative there. But I mean, I will say 2000s. 2000s was a great era of music. It's a great era for rock and for pop, in my opinion. The worst decade for music, whatever decade you like. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
What's your worst decade for music?
I usually go 80s.
Okay.
But I only go 80s because somebody like who I interviewed framed it very well, which was like, I feel like when you're answering this question, typically you're going with if you're saying the best or the worst, you're typically going with the music that was the most in the zeitgeist. Where if you think of the 60s, you think of what? The Beatles. Yeah. You think of the Stones. Yeah. When you think of the 70s, you think of maybe some disco. You think of maybe Stevie Wonder. Like you think of like the top. When I think of the 80s, I don't think it's crazy to think hair metal. Yeah. Def Leppard. Yep. Foreigner. All Journey, and those bands to me, those artists to me, when I think about them, I just think it's a little dramatic, it's a little overproduced, and I'm not saying, of course, this is an impossible question to answer because there's, Tears for Fears, incredible band, quintessential 80s band, but one of the best. Yeah. But like, I think overall, when you think of 80s music, I'm thinking of that kind of stuff. That's sort of over the top hair metal, dramatic, overproduced music, and that's why that one is worst for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely leaning 80s, but then you started talking about some of the bands. I was like, but can we save "Carry On, My Wayward Sons"? Like Kansas. Yeah. But no, that I understand, and there's like I said, and Foreigner's got some bops that'll always live for me. But I would probably align with the 80s because, like I said, I'm definitely not touching. For me, it's like I'm not touching the 50s. Or the 60s and 90s up till date. Like I have to hold on and believe that this sound, like I said, especially for me, because like I hate trying to figure out what genre I go in. There's actually this, if you're a robot hater, I did not choose to work with this robot, but on Submit Hub, which is a website for pitching to playlists, like they're like, put your song into this robot, and this robot will tell you what genre you are. And I got 20% of 5 different genres. Like it gave me nothing. Oh, wow. Yeah, there was no centralness to it. It goes, oh, well, you're obviously indie rock, alt rock, power pop, alt folk, and I forget what the 5th one was.
Power pop kind of surprises me. I kind of see the rest, but at the same time, it's like, it's hard to put a song in one genre. Like it's going to be a mix of all these things.
Yeah, like so if anybody ever asked me, I was like I've created a genre in my head. I was like, are you like nostalgic for like 2000s rock? They're like, yeah, and I'm like,
there it is,
brother. I've got something for you.
I feel like that's pretty accurate to me when I think of your stuff.
And that's not something I set out to be, but it is the thing that like the people that like my music come up to me after the show. They're
Right.
like this, like it's like I don't want to be chicken soup for the rock head, but or the pop head, but sometimes it is. They're just like it's a modern take on that era of rock that people loved, and so I just hope that it also finds a new audience of people that may not be familiar with those bands. I would love to be a catalyst that even sends them, like some of our younger folk that
Right.
may not have grown up on Goo Goo Dolls or something like that. I would love for them to hear my music and for it to even send them back to going and
Yeah, that
finding
would be
some
cool.
of that. Yeah, that would be. So I'm very cozy where I am in this rock, pop, folk, alt, middle ground
Mishmash.
that the robots say I am. And if the robots don't lie.
They don't lie. All right, what's question number 4?
I'm really impressed that you've kept up with which number this is.
I'm always kind of guessing.
You're so
Once we get to
wise.
3, I'm like, I think it's 3.
Describe the perfect setting to listen to your music.
Shout out Spencer Thomas. 2 of your questions you picked were ones he gave me. That
Heck
one
yeah.
and the who do you sound like?
Who do you sound like? That's good questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Spencer.
Shout out. But yeah, what setting? What was the question? What's the best setting to listen to your
Yes.
music?
What is the best? I'll read the card because I don't want to do Spencer dirty.
Yeah.
Describe the perfect setting to listen to your music. You know, I really at my concerts.
Buy a ticket.
Buy a ticket, come hang out. We can be friends. Follow me. But no, honestly, truth be told, I think a lot of my music, even when I'm writing it, and this has been something true since I was like 13 years old, has been in the car with the windows down, cranked up as loud as you possibly can. I think that is where my music lives, where it exists. When I write these songs, like the way that I've always viewed songwriting is I've always tried to capture an emotion or a moment or something like that, kind of like a message in a bottle. That way, when you listen to the song, you can experience that energy, and maybe it helps you access feelings that you haven't felt in a long time, or maybe you are feeling these feelings and you just feel less alone. But regardless, just the shameless sing along with me at the top of your lungs, roll the windows down of your car, take the top off the Jeep, and just cruise down the highway or dirt road or wherever you're trying to drive. And I think that is the perfect setting for James Lavender music.
Hell yeah. That's a classic. Classic
Yeah.
way to listen.
I love it.
All right, let's do the last question here, James.
Okay.
Mr. Lavender.
Mr. Lavender. Okay. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Song you wish you wrote. That's crazy because I have this thought so many times, but then when you read the question, your brain just goes, whew.
Totally.
Song you wish you wrote. Oh my gosh. What's yours?
Okay, so there's one I always go to, but then there's another one I just thought of the other day that now I can't remember, of course. But the one I always go to is I do remember it now. Okay. So I have 2.
Okay.
One is a song by a band called Pavement. It's called Spit on a Stranger. When our AC was out the other day, I was playing it. I don't know if you were building your bed,
Yeah.
your bed frame.
I did hear you.
And I
yeah,
was playing like a walk down
Yeah.
thing. That's that song. I love that
Okay.
song. The first time I heard it, I was like, this is incredible. I knew immediately, and I still feel that way. And then the other is a song by another band. It's like my favorite band ever, called Spoon. They have a song called Who Makes Your Money, which is so like, one, just the title I think is awesome. Who Makes Your Money?
Yeah.
And the song is very like, if you listen to it, it's very haunting. There's just this keyboard that plays like the same chord and like a or 2 chords. It's just in a weird order, and it'll shift just slightly throughout the whole song, and it never changes the chords, and it's just like bass, this one drum line or one drum beat happening, and then that
Yeah.
that piano, and the vocals are incredible, and something about it, I'm just like, it's so delicate. It's a very delicate song. I wish I wrote that.
Yeah. I
But
like that.
What about you?
Good Kisser by Lake Street Dive. Have you ever heard that song?
I feel like you've shown me them.
They're a lot of fun. But basically it's a song that someone wrote in their group, just saying that, like, if you're gonna go around and talk about all of our business from our breakup, then you better tell them that I'm a good kisser. Is essentially the heart behind it. It's like, if you're gonna tell them everything, tell them I'm a good kisser. Tell them all the things. It's like if you're gonna be telling all of our business out there, then
Right, let 'em know.
Yeah, let them know what's up. Let them know what's up. Good kisser. I think that would definitely be one. And there was another one that I had. Sweet Hosier. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, take my whiskey sweet.
Yeah.
That one. I love that song so much, and I think it's so clever, and it's just a lot of fun. I also get to hear it. Like, I listen to that a lot. I also listen to our buddy Desmond Myers play it whenever I go see him around town. That's like a go-to cover for him.
Nice.
When he's not just doing his own incredible music. But he does
real.
that song so well, and I feel like it's a hard song to do well. But he has the voice of an angel.
Yeah, shout out Desmond, man. He's the man.
So yeah, I would say yeah, those two songs. I would love to have those with my name on them.
Hell yeah. Great choices. Great pod. James Lavender, thank you for coming on, man. We almost did an hour. It was great chatting with you, and great living with you, as you are an
And
awesome
living
roommate.
with you. Yes.
I know this has been a long time coming, so it was great to get one in the bag.
Yes, I agree.
And thank you again for coming on. Thank you for listening, everybody. Go check out James Lavender's newest debut single, Icarus, out now. And there are more songs coming up in the future, so be on the lookout for those. See you, James.
See you, brother.
On that note, with Parker Whirling.